Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Marc Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Just lovely to have you along for the ride. We got a lot to get into today. And, I understand that Jalen Hurts is let's see here, the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. That is the most important position in the city and unquestionable, and you have the most scrutiny placed on you if you're the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's got something to prove in the upcoming season. We say upcoming season like it's tomorrow. It's September in Brazil is when the season starts and all that. So we got a minute, and you got some voluntary OTAs going on right now at the NovaCare complex. He addressed the media. He's there. We know that. Whole slew of Philadelphia Eagles addressed the media. And that's it. They have some film study. They got maybe some walkthroughs, some strength and conditioning, meet and greet. That's what they got going on at the NovaCare complex. And somehow he is already under fire. He is already under scrutiny for the way he answered questions. He said nothing that made me go, oh, geez, this has me concerned. If anything, I was encouraged, not discouraged, by what I heard from Jalen Hurts when he addressed the media earlier in the week. And yesterday I had the opportunity to be in the car a little bit more than normal. I've been driving a lot. I've been driving around a little bit, had some things to do to get ready for the spring. I just found out we're going to be hosting a friend of ours' daughter's 8th birthday party at our house, which is great. I love that's not a complaint. This is great. I love it. People at my house, love it. All right. Love throwing a party. So I've been driving around a little bit more than normal, running some errands, getting some things done, right? And I've been listening to that the old sports talk radio there that I used to be so heavily involved in. And I don't think it's something that is being made up as a hot take. I don't think it's something that somebody is or people are overreacting to simply to get a rise out of you. Like, I think it's a legit concern. And I'm seeing polls on social media about whether or not you like Jalen Hurts' demeanor and all that. And I'm like, what the, huh? To me, this is one of the things I don't miss about sports talk radio and kind of the linear media. This is kind of why I like the digital media aspect of things, where we can freelance a little bit more and go into some other topics that we normally wouldn't. But for me, I just don't understand how you can take a negative out of Jalen Hurts' press conference. When we talked about it yesterday, I said pretty much the same thing. I don't understand how anyone can take a negative out of a guy saying he wants to learn from a experienced offensive coordinator. Jalen Hurts has never had an experienced offensive coordinator. Even with Shane Steichen didn't come in with the experience as a play caller and offensive coordinator that now Kellen Moore is bringing into the fold. All right? So that's one thing. So when Jalen Hurts says he wants to kind of sit back and listen first, I love that idea. I don't get where everyone all of a sudden now wants that overly alpha male, Carson Wentz, for instance, to be like, this is what we're doing, these are the things we do, and I tell you what we do, and that's what we do. No, Jalen Hurts going in sponge mode is a fantastic thing. If you're even of the school that Jalen Hurts can't read a defense, he's terrible at reading defense, well, then you should be more in the school of, oh, this is good. He's going to sit back and he's going to learn from an experienced offensive coordinator. I don't want my quarterback being like, this is the way we do things. I don't want him being a dictator at the quarterback position. I want him going out there and be like, oh, okay. OTAs. I'm just getting to know my new play caller. Lord knows I've had enough of those since I've been here in Philadelphia and really throughout my entire career. Again, let's mention that he hasn't had the same play caller back-to-back seasons, the same system back-to-back seasons. Since Steichen, those 2 years in Philly here, and high school with his dad. Okay? So I think he wants to establish something here, some kind of relationship. And in the limited time he might be with Kellen Moore, I think he wants to learn as much as he can from Kellen Moore. And also, there's going to be some new terminology. There's going to be a little bit of a different scheme. A blending of schemes means a different scheme because you're still going to be learning new things. And now you've gone from Steichen to Johnson. Now you're on Kellen Moore. So, yeah, be a sponge. Listen, learn, and then put your 2 cents in. And I think the best way to do that is to learn first and then go, oh, you know what? I understand you don't really have a lot of the read option plays in here. Maybe we should do the read option plays. Hey, look, I don't want to make it as big a thing from a year ago or previous years in my career, but perhaps the bubble screen is a good idea at times. Maybe we should run a couple of those, because I can't reiterate enough. I know everyone wants to blame Brian Johnson for tight end screens, bubble screens, and all that stuff. That has been Jalen Hurts' comfort zone. So whenever I see those plays being run, I take it with a grain of salt, whether or not it was Brian Johnson making that call, whether it was Shane Steichen making that call, and whether or not it was Jalen Hurts checking down at the line of scrimmage, thinking that, okay, I don't know what to do with this defense, so screen! You know what I mean? That's why last year we talked about the quad of blame when it came to this Eagles offense in particular. We talked about the analytics, right? What the analytics were telling them to do, which kind of falls under the Jeffrey Lurie, aspect of everything there. And then, Nick Sirianni and his game plan last year. What do we do with Nick Sirianni and his game plan last year, right? Brian Johnson, those are three right there. Okay, analytics, Brian Johnson, the Nick Sirianni fellow. And then Jalen Hurts himself. And one of the things that drove me crazy, and we'll get into this, and I'll talk about this with John McMullen, because when I was on with John on Wednesday, he had talked about the situational football, and the Eagles were so great on situational football. Third down, offense and defense, and situational football. It was great. My thing was situational football. Yeah, in that situation, yeah, they were pretty great offensively speaking. And when you have a tush push, and every play, like Nick Sirianni said, is you never have a 1st and 10. When you have a tush push like the Eagles, you have a 1st and 9. It's a great way to sum it up. But for me, that's not the situational football that, of course, the Eagles need to get better at. They're already pretty good at that. The situational football they need to get better at is with their quarterback. And if you want to be a critic of Jalen Hurts, that's one thing you can certainly look back on last year and go, something that matters more than anything, more than any press conference, the way he plays on the football field. If you want to talk about Jalen Hurts getting better, then the way to talk about Jalen Hurts getting better is Jalen Hurts in situational football. The situational football, as in you have the lead in the fourth quarter, you don't need to go for the extra score with A.J. Brown. You don't need to fire down the field to Quez Watkins like you did against the Seattle Seahawks when you're up 4 points with 8:15 left in the fourth quarter. You don't need to bomb the ball downfield on 1st and 10 from your own, or from their 45-yard line, whatever the hell it was. You don't need to do that. And yeah, you don't need to bomb the ball downfield to A.J. Brown, even though it resulted in a touchdown, and even though I thought it was awesome at the time against the Commanders. A.J. Brown then got the penalty, the taunting penalty, and then all hell broke loose after that. Like, you don't need to do those things. That's situational football I'd like to see Jalen Hurts get better at. And from what I understand from everyone we've talked to about Kellen Moore, whether it be R.J. Ochoa from Blogging the Boys down there in Dallas, whether it be our friend Thomas R. Peterson about Kellen Moore and wanting to run up the score, whether it be our friend John Barchard and Kellen Moore wanting to light up the scoreboard again, all that stuff. I hope that situational football does come into play in that fourth quarter, where maybe if you're up, 2 touchdowns, you don't need to be airing it out. I would love for Jalen Hurts, nothing more right now. I'd love for Jalen Hurts, nothing more, to sit there and be that sponge. One of the things he did get into, other than Kellen Moore, was Coach Nessmeyer recruited him to Florida back in the day. Try to get him to go to Florida. Hey, you want to go to Florida? No, I'm good. I'm gonna go to Bama. I'm gonna roll Tide. So there's already a little bit of a pre-existing relationship there. I understand being critical of the franchise quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, I could absolutely understand that. But I don't understand how anything popped out yesterday as, oh, God, this is a concern. This is a problem. Here he is. If you missed it yesterday, here's what he had to say. The two biggest things. How is he going to approach the season as a player, and how is he going to approach the season as a leader? Here he is on how he's approaching the season as a player with his new offensive coordinator and play caller.
I'm just in sponge mode. I'm letting them do what it is they're going to do, and then we kind of adjust from there. I think the thing that we all have to understand is the importance of a foundation in something, and so I want the coaches to declare their foundation in terms of what they want something to be, how they want it to look. And then obviously you're gonna adjust from there. I think when that foundation isn't as strong as you want it to be, it may not, last as long or be as good in the end. And so That's something that we don't want to happen. So I'm just trusting the process in terms of what they're doing, what Coach Kellen is doing, Coach Doug, and everyone, and I'm just being a player, trying to learn as much as I can. I think the one thing individually as a player, I've always had a desire for is, it's just growth and development, and I think that's allowed me to have these opportunities I have now, being here at this place and just being able to continue and grow over the years of my career. And so that's what I desire to do, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to do that with our coaches,
What a bastard. How dare he? I mean, I don't understand anyone that wants him to go in and be like, this is what we're doing. Now you listen to me. How did that work out the last time? Here's how it worked out last time. All right. Indianapolis, Washington, LA, and now Kansas City. Those are all Carson Wentz's spots since trying to be the overly alpha male. Hey, don't get me wrong. I love a good alpha. All right. I love a good alpha. But when you're overly alpha, when you kind of, give alphas a bad name, you know what I mean? That's not great. That's overly alpha, not good. Alpha, good. Overly alpha, bad. And Wentz is certainly, when he was here, overly alpha, bad alpha, down alpha. Jalen Hurts, I think, is a very good alpha. I like the good alphas can go, okay, maybe there's something I can get better at so that I can be dominant again like I was in the previous season where I was, runner up to the MVP and, runner up in the whole season, really, with my team in the Super Bowl. Maybe I can be better. Maybe a somewhat humble alpha is a good thing. I love the idea of sitting there learning, sponging. Be a sponge it up, man. And then after that, go, let's do this. A little tweak here, a little tweak there. I think that's a good thing. I think, obviously, and of course, having the head coach on his side, I think having the owner on his side is also a good thing. One of the things that you can compare and contrast, again, going back to the Joe Santoliquito story from Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, is that Carson Wentz had the bat phone, as it was referred to in the story. He could just be like, what do you want to do, Doug Peterson? Pick up the phone, talk to Jeffrey Lurie. This Doug guy's being a big meanie. Jeffrey Lurie, you stop it. Dougie. It doesn't seem like Jalen Hurts has necessarily the bat phone, but he does have the ear of everyone in the organization, including the owner, including the general manager, and obviously including the head coach. Now it's going to be a matter of whether or not Kellen Moore wants to incorporate whatever it might be that Jalen Hurts does extremely well into his offense. I would think an offensive mind of Kellen Moore would like to include everything that makes Jalen Hurts' game unique. And going back to one of my favorite things that was said last year that I feel we were lied to about was embracing the uniqueness of Jalen Hurts' game. And I feel like that is the most perfect way. Of all the things we've ever heard from Nick Sirianni, that might be the most poetic thing we ever heard from him. Around this time last year, when he's being asked about the balancing act between Jalen Hurts' ability to throw the football downfield, Jalen Hurts' ability to just throw the football in general, and then Jalen Hurts' ability to be able to run for yards, how do you manage that? How do you say run less, run a little bit more, run a little bit less, run a little bit more, throw the ball? How do you manage all that? How do you find a balance? And the way Nick Sirianni said it, answered it, I thought was the most poetic thing he ever said, which is we have to embrace the uniqueness of Jalen Hurts' game. And I went, now that is brilliant. I can't believe I just heard this. This is a brilliant comment. Because you're taking what makes him special and you're allowing him to be special. So if you're Kellen Moore and you're coming into this, you know what you have in Jalen Hurts. You might not know it as well. Of course, he's never coached him, but you know what you have. So why not, hey, give him a little bit more freedom, coach him up a little bit, get him comfortable in the scheme, and then embrace what does make his game so unique. I think Jalen Hurts just trying to learn from an experienced offensive coordinator and play caller, a guy that's worked with a few other quarterbacks in the NFL, I think is a great thing. Now, that's the playing aspect of it. That's the thing that matters above all else. That's the thing that matters more than anything, okay? The other thing is the leadership role. If a guy is quiet, I mean, just think about your own workplace for a second. If all of a sudden a guy who doesn't really talk much is all of a sudden trying to be, the comic in the group meeting, everyone in the conference room, we have a meeting. Okay. You get a little conference room there, right? Everyone's quiet. And then all of a sudden, Tommy, we'll call him Tommy. Tommy just starts to be like, hey, how about this weather, everybody? And then it starts to go into like an actor. You're like, where the hell did this come from? This doesn't seem legit. This doesn't seem real. Like, what the hell is he talking about? Or, the guy that everyone knows just talks in a meeting just because he wants to let everyone know he's there. All of a sudden, they just start talking more. Like, dude, what the hell is this? Where is this coming from? I thought you were on our side. No questions. Get out of this meeting as fast as possible. I got a lunch to go to. You know what I mean? If Jalen Hurts just all of a sudden goes out there and just starts being rah-rah, shish goomba guy, then everyone's going to look at him and be like, this isn't you. You have to pick your spots. If you're more of the quiet leader, you got to pick your spots. Jalen Hurts is more of that guy. When he was asked about leader, here, I'll play for you here. This is where Jalen Hurts yesterday was asked about. The gist of the question was, it's come out that you defer to other people to be the talkers, and you just kind of put your head down and run and lead by example. Give us again how you're going to act. What are you going to change about your game for the upcoming season in terms of a leadership role? And here's what he had to say.
I think really leaving it to no one else to set the culture and how I want it to be. Communicating that with everyone above, and communicating that with my teammates, and carrying it. I have a standard I want to play to, and I want to play to that all the time. And so in the end, the number one thing you're going to establish that with is with work. And I think you never want to get caught chasing anything, chasing a goal, chasing this dream. Like, we all gonna have those, but just be where your feet are and work.
I don't know. Like, what did you want him to say? If a guy isn't working hard, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna flip out, man. I'm gonna lose it. Like, what do you want him to say? I don't know. I don't know what you want him to say. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I'm like, wow, we're at OTAs. Like, what? Did the Sixers miss the playoffs? Is Joel Embiid 100% healthy and looking fantastic? Are the Flyers going to make some kind of a cup run here? What's going? Like, there's other problems. We got other problems, and I know that there's no better problem. Oh my God, there is no better problem, and I agree with this. And to a degree, if you have a quarterback controversy of any kind, oh man, I love it. Hey, how do you not love talking about that? Especially if you're going to talk about it for an hour or 4 hours or whatever the case may be. You got to write countless articles on it. At least you got easy content. You got, boom, softball content to hit out of the park, okay? Low-hanging fruit is a better way to describe it. Look, those are situations that I might not root for, but when they come on down, oh, baby, that's an easy day. I don't, nothing jumps out to me yesterday and makes me go, oh, God, here we go. Jalen Hurts and this team. They're going to pick up right from where they left off last year. And that's not the 10-1 last year. That's the historic season collapse of last year. That's what that is. They're going to be terrible again, and Nick Sirianni's going to be fired, and Kellen Moore is going to be the head coach, and all that. The only concern that I had after listening to him was when he talked about, and I played it for you yesterday, the Jeff Stoutland quote, where he talked about when people were like, hey, you're going to have another offensive coordinator, another system, blah, blah, blah. How do you feel about that? I think it was Jeff McClain of the Inquirer that asked him the question. And he's like, I yearn. That's the word he used. I yearn. When somebody uses the word yearn, that means they really, really want it. If they're going to the bag for I yearn for, okay? I yearn for the stability and consistency that the offensive line has had with Jeff Stoutland. And I was thinking, Yeah, I'm sure you do. I think everybody on this team would love to have that kind of stability, but you got to have that success. You have to have two things. You have to have the success of just cranking out talented offensive linemen left and right. And when I talk to Jeff Stoutland, you got to be able to find those guys that have lower body lateral movement. Is that what he termed it? How's your lower body lateral movement? Non-existent. Okay, I can't do anything with you. Thank you. All right. So you have to have somebody who's really good at coaching up those players. You have to have somebody who's good at their job, like Jeff Stoutland. And then you have to have a guy that really has zero desire to be anywhere else or move up any higher. Like, he doesn't want to be a head coach. Doesn't want to be the offensive coordinator. Doesn't want to be the play caller. I don't know if he wants to be the play caller or not. I think he kind of laughed at that idea of being moved up in the food chain a couple of years ago when he was asked the question. And he just loves doing what he's doing. He loves coaching linemen. I don't think Kellen Moore has the same kind of ambition. And this is a little bit of the cart before the horse, but this is the concern that I have. Let's forget about a great season. All right, let's forget about the idea of the Eagles just in this realm. Let's just forget about the Eagles having a great season where they go to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl. Let's just go. Okay, let's forget about that for a second. Let's just say the Eagles have a good season. They get to the let's draw the line at the NFC Championship game and they lose. Is Nick Sirianni back? Let's say the offense had another stellar year. Defense just couldn't get it done in the NFC Championship game, whatever, they lose. Is Nick Sirianni back? The offense has a great year. They're top three, like I drew the line yesterday. Kellen Moore, is he a head coach somewhere else, or is he here in Philadelphia? Because what I think ends up happening is, depending on how it looks, Nick Sirianni gets canned, Kellen Moore gets promoted. Because are you really going to hold on to Kellen Moore another year? Do you really think he's not going to get do you think he's not going to get a head coaching job? If this offense looks fantastic and they come up short of making it to another Super Bowl, and you think you're going to hold on to Nick Sirianni and let Kellen Moore go? I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Eagles get into that vicious cycle. Because if Kellen Moore does get a head coaching job after this season, and you have Nick Sirianni staying here, and then you have another offensive coordinator step up, and all of a sudden he's the guy calling the shots, then you have another year of Jalen Hurts going, I'm going to be a sponge. Like, what? How many times can you be a sponge? How big is the sponge before it's just completely fed up with not knowledge, but just the revolving door? If your quarterback is telling you, this is the biggest story to come out of the press conferences on Tuesday. If your quarterback is telling you, I want stability, then you can't keep changing play callers and offensive coordinators. If he's yearning for the stability and consistency of the offensive line, then after this year, you can't be like, all right, well, hey, everybody, great year. Next. Like, you can't do that. That's the biggest thing that came out of yesterday, not my overall concern about Jalen Hurts. I still love that he's our quarterback, man. Still love that he's our quarterback. And one of the things it was pretty frequent, whether it was Cam Jurgens, Brandon Graham, I think spoke on it as well. Everything that comes through about Jalen Hurts is the work ethic. The guy just works his ass off. Absolutely works his ass off. I knew that like a lot of people just really wanted to talk about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts when I saw the story about or I knew what kind of news day we were having when A.J. Brown changing his Twitter avatar to Tom Brady was a thing. Like, I don't care. Like, there's some things that I know I should have like some kind of like piping hot take on, but I'm just like, really? Come on. Anyway, so those are my takes on the Jalen Hurts situation. That I just don't think there is a situation. I listened to it and I went, that's good for him. That's great. I just heard everything I wanted to hear from our franchise quarterback. Good for him. Now go out there and prove it. And I have to wait to September for that. Good times. One more thing on the Eagles. Isaiah Rodgers, I know some people were hoping would be able to go and play corner for the Eagles this year. So if you haven't followed this story, we haven't talked about it much on the show. But Isaiah Rodgers did not get reinstated by the NFL. So the NFL, this is a story from ESPN. NFL has reinstated 5 players who were suspended for the 2023 season for violating the NFL's gambling policy. Commanders, Shaka Toney, Rashad Berry, wide receiver Quintez Cephas, great name, CJ Moore, and defensive end Demetrius Taylor. Defensive back Isaiah Rodgers, who was also suspended last year for at least the 2023 season, wasn't reinstated Thursday. His situation remains under review. This is according to Shafty. Both Rodgers and Berry were with the Indianapolis Colts at the time of the suspensions. Both were released by the team last year. Rodgers picked up by Philadelphia. I can't go into detail about every other situation, but here's the thing and why I wasn't surprised about Isaiah Rodgers. First off, I've told you guys this before. Gambling, I know we have gambling sponsors on this show. We've had gambling sponsors on this show. This is a different thing than if I played for a team, okay? The NFL wants the money from the gambling sites and the apps and all that stuff, and more power to them, fine. But when it comes to players betting, that is the ultimate no. That's why in the NBA you have a player banished for life now, okay? The NFL knows its only true threat is fans having evidence, concrete evidence, that games are not legit. Like, people even started talking about the NFL being scripted. Like that was a real thing. Now imagine money's on the line and what you're watching isn't legitimate. A guy like Isaiah Rodgers, and here's why he's not getting reinstated anytime soon, at least I don't think so. He bet on football. He bet on football, bet on his team, and bet on his team within the team facility. So he was on the grounds of the Indianapolis Colts facility, practice facility. I don't think it was at Lucas Oil Stadium, but in team facility, and bet on the game. Like, dude. Like, anyone who's at least even watched, some kind of movie where anyone's got to be covert knows. Don't check all those boxes, bro. So I don't think you're going to see him anytime soon. The ultimate threat to professional sports is you thinking that what you're watching is not legitimate. That's what it is. You thinking what you're watching is not legitimate. That's the only thing. And I know there are morally speaking, there are worse things people do. That, yeah, should. Oh, you should deserve banishment. That's not the biggest threat to the sport. That's not the biggest threat to the sports pocketbook either. The biggest threat to the sports pocketbook is you thinking, oh, this isn't even real. This is that player right there is going to be dropping that pass. That could cost me money on fantasy football. It could cost me money betting the game. I want to at least know that what I'm betting on is something legitimate. And that ain't good. That's the biggest threat. That's why I don't see Isaiah Rodgers getting reinstated anytime soon. Still under investigation. Well, I think you've done enough investigating. I think you realize this guy, not going to be seen for a little bit. Again, I don't know what everybody else's deal was, all of them together, whether or not they were checking all those boxes of betting on their team, games they played in, practice facility, doing the betting, proving that they were betting. Like, that ain't good, man. That ain't good. All right, away from the football world, let's get to something that's going to be a little bit more current. Your 10-9-8 76ers. So I do that segment with my buddy Eitan Shander, right, at Fox 29 called The Balds. I was at Trader Joe's the other day, and Trader Joe's is where you go if I don't know if I've said this before, but it's a grocery store that is only a tapas menu. It's like you go to Acme or whatever, you get like full-size meals. Everything at Trader Joe's is like tapas menu. It's like we're a tapas restaurant shops, like small portions. Like, oh, this feeds a family of 4. This just feeds me. This does not feed a family of 4. Anyway, and this nice lady, Mary, came over to me. And Mary goes, "Are you one of the Balds?" And I go, "Hey, yeah, how you doing?" And she goes, "Oh, I love that segment. I think you guys are so much fun." I said, "Oh, that's very nice. Thank you so much." And she goes, "I just don't like that they call you bald." And I said, "Mary, it's not a secret. We think it's hilarious. Mike Jarrett thinks it's hilarious. Alex Holly enjoys it. We don't mind. We are in on the joke, and we find it to be funny. And she goes, oh, okay. And then she looked at my cart and she went, how many kids do you have? Because she saw a bunch of cereal bars. And I'm like, only 2. I just have 2 kids. And she's like, wow. I'm like, oh, yeah, we don't. There's few trips to the grocery store as possible. But these are the breakfast bars they like. So here we are. So I do that segment. I tell you all that just to tell you, do the segment, right? We go the Bolts. And on that segment, Eitan Chandler was like, I'm worried about the Knicks. And I believe my response was, hogwash and poppycock. How dare you? The Sixers will take care of business against the Knicks, And I'm now concerned. After watching Joel Embiid in the playoffs, in the play-in game against the Miami Heat, whatever happened in that second to last game of the regular season where Joel Embiid was really trying to get his team over the hump and winning, where he went down, grabbed his knee, limped a little bit. Whatever happened there, I think did some damage. I don't want that to be true, but I believe that is true. Now, Nick Nurse was asked about Joel Embiid's status, and I want you to hear it. He was asked about Joel Embiid's knee. Was it the second to last game of the season? Who was the second to last game of the season? I know they had the Nets to. Was it the Magic? It was the Magic. Embiid had 32 points and 13 rebounds, but there was a little tweak in the knee in that game, and I didn't think it was that big a deal. Nick Nurse said that Joel Embiid, before the last game of the regular season that he didn't participate in, he did everything in practice, so everything's fine and everything's great. I didn't see Joel Embiid look good. I didn't see Joel Embiid look like his naturally fluid self on the court. So I have concern now. If Joel Embiid's not even, as I said yesterday, 90% going into the series against the Knicks, you're not winning the series against the Knicks. So now I do have a concern. Now, Nick Nurse was asked after the win over the Heat in the play-in game about Joel Embiid's knee. Nick Nurse went on to talk about something else while answering the question, and then came back around to talk about Joel Embiid's status. Here's what Nick Nurse had to say.
I don't know. I'd have to probably ask him on that. I thought he did in the first half. I thought he blew a couple layups. He wasn't alone, though. That list was long, right? So the thing I said at halftime, I'm like, geez, we missed a bunch of wide open threes, and we blew about 6 layups, and it's only 12. Let's hang in here and let's do things a little bit better, and let's be a little tougher around the rim. Listen, I thought he was okay. I thought that he competed. Thought he competed late, especially last few minutes. Again, I mean, it's not that easy. Heroes coming off there 100 miles an hour. Joel's got to be up in those screens to defend. Again, I thought he made a key play, rebounded the ball. He started rebounding the ball, which was huge. So I'm happy. I think it's a good one to get under his belt with a big scheme and a lot of intensity and a lot of minutes.
Good one to get under his belt. Good one to get under his belt. What I saw wasn't a guy that was playing himself into shape. I that's why I have concern. I didn't see a guy that was laboring because of, I've seen him run the floor in the last 8 games of the season, the 5 that he played in. I've seen that. I've seen him look a lot better in the first matchup against the Heat, for instance. I shouldn't say first, but his only matchup against the Heat and Jimmy Butler this season, that was much more in shape, looked a lot better. This game looked like he was dragging his leg with him. And you're going to need to have as close to a spry Joel Embiid as possible to now win this series against the New York Knicks, because the Knicks have manhandled the Sixers this season. They won the game. They with Joel Embiid, they won by 40. That's a concern. Joel Embiid not being 100%, that's concerning. Tyrese Maxey not being his normal all-star caliber self, that's a problem. And my biggest thing with the Knicks is that they can run the floor extremely well. You have guys like Josh Hart, guys like Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, of course. These are guys that can get up and down the floor pretty quick. And look, Tyrese Maxey is the fastest guy in the NBA, especially with the ball in his hands. So that's one guy. But if you have a center that's lagging back and forth, offense to defense, defense to offense, if offense, he's only getting to the 3-point line, the top of the key, and then he just stops, rests the knee, and then catches the ball and misses a 3, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. And as Tyrese Maxey talked about when he talked about facing the Knicks, He talked about having Joel Embiid ready to go to help them, especially in the defensive category.
They're tough, and like you said, they start with at the head of the snake at Jalen Brunson. We got to find ways to slow him down, but thankfully we got a few people that we can kind of throw at him. We got Joel down there protecting us, but they're an extremely grimy team. Like they play hard, they're physical, they're tough, and that's their identity. So for us to go in there and try to get W's and try to win this series, we have to match that, and not just match it, but we have to overcome that and be better than that and be extremely physical as well. So I think we know what we have to do, and they kicked our tail in the regular season, so it's time to go in there and fight.
This is true. They did kick your tail during the regular season, winning 3 of the 4 games that you saw them, including that one awful game back on January 4th or 5th, whatever the hell it was, where they just put you over their knee. It was horrible. The other one of the 2 of the matchups there were back-to-back. Not back-to-back nights, but home-and-home series, if you will. Was it home-and-home, or were they both in New York? They both might have been in New York. But the Sixers won the first game. That was that 77-75 game, or 79-74. Close one, defensive battle. And I hate saying this, but if the Sixers are going to win, it's got to have to be about the Sixers defense. It's going to have to be about slowing it down, controlling the pace of the game, and really dominating that. And Joel Embiid, that's going to help Joel Embiid not have to sprint up and down the floor. You're going to have to get into set offenses. Basically everything that you wanted to avoid when Ben Simmons was here. This is everything you're going to have to do with Tyrese Maxey and Kyle Lowry running the offense and controlling the pace of the play. We're getting out and running. Tyrese Maxey's got that open lane, the outlet pass after a rebound. Take it, baby. Go. But in terms of a normal set offense after a made shot, the Sixers are going to have to be methodical and all that. And here's what Nick Nurse had to say about taking on the Knicks.
I think they're for real. I think they're really good. I think they're fast. I think they can shoot. I think they hit the glass. I think they guard you. I think they've earned that seed. They've played really well and beaten a lot of good teams. So we'll have our work to do here in the next couple of days to get ready for them.
I think one of the biggest things in all of this is going to be controlling the pace. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. The biggest thing is how healthy is Joel Embiid. That's numero uno. And then after that, as far as something you can strategize, as far as something you can draw up on the old grease board there, it's slowing it down. Not playing into their hands where they can play extremely fast, up and down the court, multiple guys that can do that. And their best player is not a guy that's going to have to depend on a slower version of basketball. Like the Sixers' best player in Joel Embiid is going to have to depend on that slower version of basketball. With the Knicks and Jalen Brunson playing as well as he's been playing, it pains me to compliment all these Villanova players, but they can play an extremely fast and furious brand of basketball where if they don't allow Joel Embiid to get set, even in a help defense, weak side type of setup, then the Sixers are going to be in a whole boatload of trouble. The other thing that would also help the Sixers is 2 of those losses, I believe they shot about 20 to 25% from beyond the arc. So not doing that would also help. Nico Batum, baby. Knock down those threes. Buddy Hield, now would be about a good time to get hot. Right now would be a really good time to get smoking hot from beyond the arc, right? The Tyrese Maxey. Let's knock down some threes. Let's have ourselves some good times from 3-point line. In the 40-point loss, that was 20% from 3 game. That's not good. That's bad. Don't do that again. That would help things tremendously. Greatly appreciated. Signed, Philadelphia. All right. Phillies, we'll see if they can win 4 in a row starting tonight. They are coming off their sweep of the Colorado Rockies, and now they're going to be taking on that Chicago White Sox team. If you haven't been following the White Sox this year, first off, smart. Second, they're terrible. They come into this series, the Chicago White Sox, just having won their 4th game of the season, I believe it is. Excuse me, their 3rd game of the season. They're just coming off a win, so they're red hot right now. That win came over the Kansas City Royals. Today, Spencer Turnbull will get the ball for the Phillies, and Garrett Cratchit will get the start for the White Sox. He is a lefty, 24 years old, 6'6", 1-2 on the season. He's got to win. 3.57 ERA on the year. So that's what you're looking at. We're going to be looking at Trey Turner, seeing if he can stay red hot as he's been. Hey, Kyle Schwarber, a couple more dingers, be nice. Nick Castellanos, Bryson Stott, get back on the bowl. It'd be nice to see that. All that and more. That's what we got coming up today. 6:40 start time. The 11-8 Phillies take on the 3-15 Chicago White Sox in Philly. You know what? Let's go for 6 in a row, baby. Let's go for 6 wins in a row. Let's go for another series win. That's what you could do. Let's see how that shakes out tonight. Supposed to be 60 degrees, 50, 55, 60 degrees, something like that at game time. Let's party. Let's party with that. The Phillies, by the way, have not lost a series, since that Red series. Back on April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So there you go. Let's get into the chat to check and see how you guys are doing on this fine Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Appreciate you. Where are we at? Daz, what's popping? How are you? Good morning. Sean Gillespie, Twiz, Steven. Morning, good people. Smoking if you got. Whoa. Mally. Is this Mally, now known as Steven? I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. IBH, good morning. Let's see here. Daz, people lose their minds because AJ. Thank you. Yes, exactly. Oh, I haven't watched that. I saw Belichick on with Pat McAfee. I don't really catch that show all that much. But I saw Bill Belichick smile, which always freaks me out. Am I the only one that gets freaked out when Bill Belichick smiles? Remember the Addams Family? Addams Family Values, which is the sequel to the Raul Julia and Angelica Houston Addams Family movie, right? The second one, the kids go to camp, okay? And at one point, they try to break Wednesday. In this case, played by Christina Ricci, Ricci. And they're trying to break her and make her like soft and stuff, right? So at one point in the movie, they like have her watch all these Disney movies, try to soften her up a bit. And then they come to her and they're like, hey, Wednesday, how are you? And she's like, I'm fine. And she gives this smile, this like forced smile, that it might be the creepiest thing in any part of any Addams Family, anything ever, including the recent series Wednesday, played by Jenna Ortega. But anyway, so I'm watching it, and I'm watching the interview with Bill Belichick, and his smile reminds me of Wednesday Addams in Addams Family Values when she forces that smile. It's the creepiest thing. It's on par, and I know he gets compared a lot to the evil emperor in Star Wars. When he smiled, he's like, yes, let the power run through you, right? That's what it's like when Bill Belichick smiles. When he smiles, when he shows joy, I think he's trying to steal my soul. So I saw some of it. I saw him smile, and I went, I'm out. Yeah, it freaked me the hell out. Jalen had a crappy coordinator. By the way, that was Daz putting that out. Thank you, Daz. Twiz, Jalen had a crappy coordinator. I'm not out on him, but he has a lot to prove this year. He does. And that's what I'll go to. He's got more pressure on him this year because there's no excuses. Like, dude, you're going to go out and you're going to have a crappy year with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, this offensive line, who's still going to be good, and Saquon Barkley, you're going to Dallas Goedert, you're going to go out there and have a crappy year? And Kellen Moore is your offensive coordinator? No excuses, brah. No excuses. IBH, if you can't find anything negative, they're going to take your Philly press pass away. Yeah. Philly credentials. Yeah. Listen to him when he first started. Oh, I don't know what that is. Mark, you don't start bitching like the rest. They're going to kick him out of the club. I like him, my club. If I ever did get back into sports talk radio, though, I'll tell you right now. Sean Gillespie, and I this isn't me like crapping on sports talk radio. Like they're talking about the quarterback. I'll put it this way: you're never wrong when you're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. I didn't like it when people, and this isn't just sports talk radio. Like there are callers that voice the same opinions, so this isn't like just isolated towards sports talk radio. And there's print media on it too. But when like, I understand having the quarterback under fire. I get that. But, like, listening to yesterday, I really just feel like I don't know. I feel like there's ways to talk about the quarterback without really grasping for a story. And I listened to him yesterday, and I'm like, I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Do you want him to say that I'm running the show? I don't get it. But if I ever got back into sports talk radio for whatever reason, I try to kind of, one of the things I've learned in the digital world is like it's a much more focused audience. Like I've noticed that. And this isn't just me listening like to my show or planning my show. This isn't me. This is me listening to like other podcasts and the way other people, Inside the Birds, for instance, Birds 365, John McMullen, of course, who I'll be on with later today. Like just kind of listening to that. You guys are more you guys seek this out. It's not given to you on a silver platter on your car radio or whatever. It's something that you guys seek out. And I think that makes for a more focused audience. And that's something that I enjoy. I'm not talking to people usually while they're in the middle of doing 10 other things. Or waiting on hold for 30 minutes to give me their opinion. And they're a little disgruntled on that already. And I was one of those people once. I was a caller back in the day, college. I'd lied about my age. I remember one time I called in about Horace Grant. I think was it Steve Fredericks? Somebody was talking, who wears glasses? Who's a player that wears prescription goggles? And I was like, Horace Grant does. I was 11 years old. My dad handed me his phone. Biggest mistake of his life. And they're like, how old are you? And I was like 12. And they're like, oh, you got to be 18. I was already on hold for like 20 minutes. Anyway, so Jimmy, I know the Birds got to do some. So, but come on, 32 teams. So it acts like we're in last place. Treasure. Well, that's Cilio's opinion. I don't fault him for that. High Farzy Hurts reminds me of McNabb. Really? With his passive-aggressive nature. I wonder how much Laurie paid him to wear the Phillies cap because he's already admitted he's an Astros fan. I'll tell Babs, one thing I can tell you right out of the gate. There is no way in hell Jeffrey Lurie is paying anybody to wear any other team's paraphernalia. No way, no how. I do not get McNabb vibes in the least bit with Jalen Hurts. My biggest gripe with Donovan, and I'm not a Donovan basher, but this is just my take on Donovan's time in Philadelphia. I get the sense that Donovan liked winning. I don't get the sense that Donovan hated losing. I get the sense that Jalen Hurts hates losing. I don't think Donovan is going to ever and you could say this is trivial, but I think it means something. I don't think Donovan's ever making the lock screen on his cell phone if it was a thing when he was playing. I don't think Donovan's ever making that him losing the Super Bowl. I don't think he's ever doing that. I get the sense that Jalen Hurts despises losing. And sometimes in athletes, that's a bigger thing than just wanting to win. I think he despises losing. Oh, love Jesus. Okay. Hi. Hurts is a different breed. The media doesn't know how to handle him. It's always going to be like this. Here's what I long for in a quarterback. Just from speaking from someone who wants wins and losses, I want wins. Okay. Yeah, of course, in the sports talk, whether it's digital or linear, in the sports talk media, you want someone that's going to give you things to talk about. But when it comes to a mindset, first off, I want someone who is as talented as Jalen Hurts, and I think he's extremely talented. I want someone who can be clutch, and I think he can absolutely be clutch. And I want somebody that is not going to be easily shaken. Like for me, the whole thing turned with Donovan for me when T.O. got here. And if you're Donovan and you know your best chance to win is with T.O., then you rally to keep T.O. in Philadelphia. And then the whole basic he said, she said bull that went back and forth. And yeah, T.O. had his full list of wrongs. Don't get me wrong there. I'm not saying he was anything close to perfect. But you can't come out and say that you're not going to get involved in another player's contract and then get involved in another player's contract. He wouldn't say anything about T.O. He would say something for Brian Westbrook. And I get that they were together longer and all that. And I'm like, if you're going to say you're going to stay out of it, stay out of it. He didn't stay out of it. And as his career went on, I just didn't get the sense. Like early on in his career, Donovan playing on the broken ankle against the Cardinals and completing, I think it was like 20 of 24 passes and 2 or 3 touchdowns. And, oh, this guy's a warrior. This guy's amazing. And then it turned out to be some of the thinnest skin that you could imagine. And I just never got the sense that he could put all that behind him and just go win. And he did. He went to another conference championship game after T.O., and that was that 8-7 in 1 year or whatever the hell it was. And they went into the playoffs, and they lost in Arizona in the NFC championship game, and Kevin Curtis got tackled, and they never called that pass interference and whatever. Kurt Warner picked him apart. But that's the way I remember that. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is of that same school. And I think this guy is going to do anything he can to win a football game. Even sit back and listen and be a sponge. So I like that. But I like that quality about him. And in terms of him being a different breed, yeah, I just think he's just one of those people that's not easily shaken. I like that. All the trade talk about bringing in Russell Wilson, kicking the tires, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, and the whole time he just said, I'm above it all. I just go out there and I control what I can control. That's exactly the mindset you want to have as a quarterback. Let's see here. Let's see here. Jimmy DeFoot, what's going on? With the RPO, Jalen scares the hell out of the defense. Last year, I believe that was the coach allowing only a certain number of plays that Johnson could run with Jalen that made them predictable. Okay, I think that's fair. Oh, yeah, baby. Jason Day, Saturday night against the Knicks. Knicks going down in 7. Or, excuse me, Knicks going down in 6. I have it going 7 games, and I hate to do that, but I think it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a fight. This is why I'm worried about Kellen Moore. His offense has long, drawn-out plays that needs the quarterback to go through his progressions. He needs to develop on offense just for Jalen. Or develop an offense just for Jalen. Yeah, okay, I agree. There's definitely things that need to be very strong just to Jalen Hurts, suited to Jalen Hurts. I'd be all for that. I am all for that. That's where Jalen Hurts needs to learn and be that sponge. And then he also needs to have the safety net plays. All right, we're having trouble with this. Here's what we got for you. Here's a pass. You're not going to believe this, right? We're going to throw the ball to a running back. Stay with me here. Yeah. The guy possibly behind you, all right? He's going to run out of the backfield. You're going to throw it to him. He's going to make a play. Won't that be cool? Something they don't like to do for whatever reason in this offense. Well, in the past. The Rodgers thing has you worried? The Isaiah Rodgers thing with the Eagles? Crowley won't be back. Rodgers won't be back. Yep. I don't think he will either. Betting on your team is a big no-no. Again, betting on your team in the practice facility and a game you're playing in. Not ideal. Like the judge in that situation is going to look at him, or the judge, Roger Goodell going to be like, dude, is this really? Nobody's that stupid. Seriously? Twiz, I had the same thought. Time for Maxey to step up in the playoffs. Absolutely. He did struggle. I don't like saying the moment was too big for him because I've seen him play well in the playoffs before. But maybe the one and done game 7 got to. I don't know. I'd like to think not, but Maxey's going to have to be, if Joel Embiid is not even 90%. Maxey's going to have to be 110%. Maxey's going to have to be every ounce of the all-star that he can be. And on both sides of the court, offense and defense. Mihai! What's up, Mihai? Wait, what? You see the 6-time All-Star commented on the Heat Instagram post announcing the injury diagnosis by saying, Kelly Oubre, we throwing hands? I did not see that. Who the hell said that? I did not see that. Carly, are we 100% that Bradbury can't have a bounce back year? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm ruling that out yet. The thought is that Bradbury under Vic Fangio is going to have a bounce back year. The scheme is better suited to him having a bounce back year, which means that you're bad. This scheme, the Vic Fangio scheme, where all it's based on is like you don't let anybody get behind you. There's a lot of cornerbacks that can do that. Just don't let anybody behind you. Okay, thanks. Let's see if I can find this. I haven't seen the story about Kelly Oubre. Oh, geez. Okay, Jimmy Butler's comment, injured Heat star post about throwing hands with Kelly Oubre. There was nothing dirty about it. What's the problem? Jimmy Butler will miss Miami's second play-in game against the Bulls Friday. That's tonight. Sense of humor seems to be still intact after a hard fall in the first quarter. Okay, they described it as a hard fall, so that's good. What am I reading this on? What is this? What am I reading here? What? It doesn't even credit this. What? Anyway, after a hard fall in the first quarter of Wednesday's game against the Philadelphia 76ers, Butler immediately clenched his knee. We know how that happens down the stretch. Heat ultimately blew a 14-point lead, forcing them into a winner-take-all showdown against the number 9. Oh, continue reading. That helps. Okay, yeah, he did comment. We throwing hands, Kelly Oubre. Yeah, there was nothing dirty about it. Yeah, it's a good play. Good defensive play. I see that now, Sean. Thank you. I did not see that earlier. Thank you, Sean Kilrain. What else do we got here? Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Sean, I see it. Thank you. You still appreciate you. April! Blaming Silsky. There you go. Oh, Mally. Okay. Was that you earlier as Steven? Confusing the hell out of me? No? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, number 5 will always love you. Yeah. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars. It's SkyMotorcars.com. Once again, Phillies back at it tonight. 6:05 start time. Phillies haven't lost a series since the beginning of the month against the Cincinnati Reds. Phillies have won 3 in a row, and they have not lost back-to-back games. Wow, since the first 2 games of the season. That's great. Keep it coming, Phils. Keep it coming, fighting Phils. You'll love to see it, really. You'll love to see it. So you got this 3-game series against Chicago White Sox, and then, boy, oh boy, after this 10-game homestand, they go on a 10-game road trip. 4 in Cincy, 3 in San Diego, 3 in Anaheim against the Angels. See Mike Trout. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that, let's see, April 26th through May 1st, I am not going to be a happy camper. Those are going to be some late nights for me. Sixers back at it on Saturday night, ladies and gentlemen. First round of the playoffs. Now that the Sixers have officially sealed the number 7 seed Sixers and Heat. Sixers and Knicks tip off at 6 o'clock Saturday night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hey, I'll be on Birds 365 with our man John McMullen coming up in a minute. Paul Domovich joins the show. So I look forward to that. And Brian Cameron joins the show at 9:35. 8:20, Paul Domowich. 8:35, Brian Cameron. So I look forward to those conversations and catching up with John McMullen a little bit later today. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to Jacob Media. Make sure you subscribe to Farzy Show on YouTube. And subscribe to the all-new Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well. You can catch me post-game for 76ers coverage, post-game for Phillies coverage. Make sure you guys catch me over there on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well. My name is Marc Farzetta. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend as well. Hope to see you guys on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel after the Phillies game tonight and the Sixers game on Saturday. See you guys then. Have a wonderful weekend if not.